where you belong. Give you strength to carry on. Open your heart, set your mind at ease. Live your life and you'll be free. We're gonna rise, rise, rise. Keep on rising, rise, rise, rise. Keep on rising,
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Toon Review for tonight's show. Something a little bit different tonight. I know we were going to do a mental health show, but we've decided that that one is probably going to be recorded by myself. And we decided to do this one tonight, which is a very interesting show. Where did Newcastle United strengthen in January? This is obviously very interactive with you guys as well, so we want to know what you think when we go through the different positions of the team, who stands out more, what replacement should we get, etc., etc. So please do take part in the chat. As usual tonight, please do give it the thumbs up if you do enjoy the show. And of course, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and come and be part of this incredible community on the Toon Review by hitting that subscribe button. Free to do so, and also the notification bell, which will let you know when we go live or schedule lives or we upload any videos like the one I did earlier today. You can become a member of the Toon Review. We are over 500 members, which is incredible. So thank you to everybody. We are going to do a members draw a couple of times this week, so make sure you're watching for them. We've got some wonderful prizes and a big, massive shout out to Spike Milligan, who was so kindly providing loads of prizes to give away. Incredible. So thank you, Spike. I'll reply to the email you sent today as well. You're not stalking me at all, mate. It is very much appreciated. And of course, you can donate to the channel if you do so wish tonight by hitting the $ underneath the live chat, and that will get your comment read straight out as well. Good evening, Billy Bob.
Good evening, Paul. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Parkinson's kicked off a bit today, but yeah, it's becoming more of a regular thing, unfortunately. But stress, etc. You know, it's awful. But however, I want to do this show because I'm really. You came up with the idea today, and I'm really looking forward to doing this actually, and looking into possibilities for January. Of course, if you watched the earlier video today, guys, you would have seen that we're linked with a couple of players. Rafinha obviously wants to come back to the Premier League by the looks of things. It's not happening for him in Barcelona, and Edison at Atalanta as well, also been linked. But Atalanta reportedly won 40 million euros, and that is just way out of Newcastle. Not interested in paying that much at the moment. Alexander says, good afternoon from Houston. Grilling a steak out here in the cold and rain. Well, how American is that? Appropriate atmosphere for today. A little cold, but we have a juicy steak. We need a forward and a squad depth at midfield. Well, if it's any consolation, Alexander, it is blown a bloody hurricane here right now. Storm Diane, I believe it's called this time, Billy. I don't know what it's like down in Coventry way, but it's
Debbie, not Diane.
Oh, it's Debbie, is it? I thought it was Diane. Oh, well. Debbie, Diane, who gives it a toss? It's windy.
Yeah, it's not very nice here. Very windy, rainy, just really unpleasant. Although it's not as cold as it was yesterday, I've got to say. It was freezing yesterday, not as cold today.
Yeah. Good evening to Head Junk. Barry the Beast says, might be a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I reckon we need a quality right winger who can use both feet at an adequate level. Well, it'll be interesting to see where we go with that when we get to that position, Barry, which will be later in the show. Nico Williams is a future winger for the Toon. I know Stat was a big fan of his, massive fan. James says, I think there should be a prize of a Newcastle-themed roast dinner with Paul.
What would a Newcastle-themed roast dinner consist of, James?
Yes, I'm intrigued to know that, actually. Good question, Billy. Interesting. Rabbit Nunn says, I agree about a right winger, centre midfielder, and centre back. Everybody's saying hello. Good evening to everybody. Paul Tully says, midfield were not as bad as some are making out. And we have players due back from injury. I think strikers is a prime concern. Julie's just getting that chicken out the oven. Oh, very nice. Wijnaldum, the first of his name, interesting. With two strikers start a season like this, where we are in the Champions League, thought less than nothing. I'm not sure what that means.
No.
Aaron says, I hope we get someone creative like a Beardsley or Ben Arthur. Billy, I don't think we'll ever see another Peter Beardsley. I think he was a one-off, just like Messi's a one-off, and players who have that individual talent on the ball. I mean, we haven't seen a Beardsley, well, since he retired, have we?
We didn't see many before, to be fair. It was a unique play, was Peter Beardsley. You couldn't pigeonhole him as a striker or a midfield player. Mm-hmm. He played equally good at both. He played best in the little hole behind the strikers. Never seen work rate like he had. Watch his work off the ball, constantly chasing the ball like a dog chasing a balloon. Unbelievable fitness. But when he had the ball at his feet, God, he used to make things happen. He had the shimmy that everyone knew he was going to do, and no one could defend it. No one could stop it. And everyone knew he could do it, which is remarkable.
I remember a goal he scored at White Hart Lane, Billy, when he did that shimmy. There was three Tottenham defenders in front of him. Do you remember that one?
I was there. I was on the Spurs end.
Yeah, when we had the blue strip on. The Essex blue strip, and he took three of them on. They just didn't have a clue.
It was the last minute as well. It was last minute.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
they scored first. They equalised. They dominated us for ages. Probably should have been ahead. But then Beardsley did that little shimmy. Dean Austin actually went out, nearly ended off the pitch. It was sold by that much. But in the Spurs end, you couldn't jump up. However, when you see something like that, you jump up. You can't help it. And I did.
I believe a lot of the Tottenham fans are actually clapping that goal anyway, because it was just, it's one of them that you see and you just, did I really just see that? Just brilliant. Ian says, I'm sick to death of the Trippier versus fan debate. Boring media love their pound of flesh. Well, I mean, look, I mentioned Garth Crooks in the video earlier on today. Absolutely ridiculous comments from Garth Crooks, calling the fans all sorts of different names. And nobody seemed to focus on, well, the pundits don't, that it was only one fan who has since apologised and everything has been sorted out. Water under the bridge. So I agree. And Kirith, thank you very much, Kirith Baines, for your $4.99 super chat. He says, good evening, Paul and Billy. Just had my first day back at work after a long-term sick, onwards and upwards from here. Good that you're healthy again, Kirith, and nice to have you back on the channel, matey. Lewis says, evening, gents and chat. Are the Chiesa links still kicking about? Not as much. But you know what? A bit of a shimmy there, Billy.
Bit of a basic shimmy, yeah.
Yeah. It hasn't been, but look, December, from the start of December, we will be linked with hundreds of players. Okay, there'll be lots of shows on here, lots of transfer shows and things like that with the build up to it, and of course, transfer shows during the the window itself, and of course, don't forget deadline day as well, which we cover massively on this channel. So a lot to look forward to, but it's one of them, Billy, where we are going to be linked with so many players, but you've got to sort of look through all the media reports, look who is a decent reporter, and make sure that they are reported instead of all the tosh that goes around from certain media outlets. Yeah,
we're big, we're big news at the minute, and so people want to read about Newcastle United and who they're potentially going to be signing. So yeah, you're gonna get a lot of rubbish. But okay, they do kind of, all the ones we have signed have been mooted in the press before we signed them, so they do get some right. So keep your eyes out and try and pick which ones are going to be correct and which ones aren't. It's not easy, but some of them can be easier than others, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Pazman says a roast dinner could be in a stotty for a Newcastle themed roast dinner, Billy.
I guess that'd work, wouldn't it?
Well, to some it might.
That'd be a big stotty, though, wouldn't it? Christ.
Yeah, an awfully big stotty. The ruffian Bernician says we need to reduce our goalkeepers to 3 in the squad to free a space in February. The first squad We need a defensive midfielder on loan, a centre forward, right forward, and a centre back. Ricky says we need a Madison type player that links the midfield to Isak. You know, the more I see him play, Billy, I know he's injured at the minute, but what he's done for Spurs, I'm really pissed off he didn't sign for Newcastle, because if you'd given me to Madison over Tonali, I would have taken it. And not just because of what's happened to Tonali, but also I genuinely think Madison is a better player. He knows the Premier League, and look at the way he started at Spurs, man. He's just, that could have been for us.
Yeah, but we don't play with that kind of 10, do we? You know, James Maddison for us would have been playing on the right hand side of midfield in a winger position. Would he have had the kind of freedom to float about like he does for Spurs? Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, he's not kind of, you know, his strongest position to me is in a number 10 position. We don't play with a number 10, so would he be doing the same kind, having the same impact with us? It's a hypothetical question, but I don't think he would.
Yeah. Nathan says, did we ever inquire for James Ward-Prowse? It seems like he really did go under the radar to West Ham. I agree with that. I think he did go under the radar. But as far as I'm aware, there was no links to him with Newcastle. We did look at him in a couple of transfer shows because he was linked in the media, but the club themselves, I don't think it was ever a possibility, Billy. I don't think he was one of the players we looked at.
No, I think it was fairly well mooted that he didn't want to move too far north. So London was kind of the most north he'd move. He's a South Coast lad, isn't he? So, no, so he's a Southampton kid. Didn't want to move too far away from there. Yeah, I'm guessing Newcastle upon time would be way, way, way out of his kind of radar to where he wanted to move to. Yeah.
To coin a phrase, says Beardsley could have played in his slippers. Oh, absolutely. In fact, it did seem like he had slippers on all the time. King Hoddle says Beardsley was a clever player, but Waddle was truly world class. Listen, Chris Waddle in his plum was just a brilliant footballer, but I don't agree that he was better than Beardsley. I think they had a bit different traits. Chris Waddle was very... I mean, Chris Waddle once played as a number 9 for Newcastle. Let's not forget that, Billy. He played up front. Sort of mid-80s, didn't he? And then he was moved out wide, and that's where he kind of made his name once he'd gone out wide. But Waddle, to me, I mean, we keep referring to Waddle as like Joe Willock, Billy. You know, it had that kind of body language that he just...
Yeah, look, knackered all the time, didn't he?
Yeah.
Knackered all the time.
Yeah.
What I will say about Waddle is, on an international level, I think he achieved more than Beardsley did. You know, when he went to Marseille, it was absolutely phenomenal for them. Yeah. I mean, he's not got a cupboard full of medals or anything like that, but Chris Waddle on his day, Christ, I can remember watching him once for Spurs against Highfield Road, actually, against Coventry, and he literally played Coventry City on his own, and it was a 2-each draw. He scored both goals. Just, he was a phenomenal player, Waddle. But Beardsley, Waddle, league form, I'd say Beardsley. Internationally, I'd say Waddle.
It's close, though, isn't it? I mean,
Beardsley didn't really play much European football, did he? Because obviously he played for Liverpool, they were banned. But I mean, Waddle, that season for Marseille, Christ almighty, he was virtually European Player of the Year, wasn't he? They lost the final to Steaua Bucharest, if I remember rightly. Red Star Belgrade, I can't remember who it was, but they lost the fight, really boring game. But he got there, virtually got him there on his own. Him and Papan were amazing together. Two great players, but Waddle, yeah, just a natural, fantastic player. Yeah, didn't have the work rate of Beardsley, but he was naturally better, I think.
Absolutely. Billy, we've got an arse in called Jimmy Mayer. So would you like to reply to that?
Hi, I've noticed you don't read all messages that come your way, but you do say big thanks for money. Enjoy yourself. Bye. Jimmy, you've had a mare, mate. See you later.
Yeah. Bye, Jimmy. I can't read all the messages out because they come in so fast, mate. I don't know whether you've sat in front of a screen before and had like messages just flying through and you get through as many as you can. But, you know, obviously you're going to pick the ones out that, you know, the super chats because they're donating their money to the channel, you absolute fool. Jesus, bye, Jimmy. And anyway, the GOAT says, whoever we sign, make sure that there are no gamblers or sick notes amongst them. Yeah, I think lessons learned this summer, Billy.
It's hard to kind of find out, isn't it? I mean, because just by its, you know, addicts kind of keep it secret. That's, you know, they don't want to be caught. So
yeah, very difficult.
To find out a gambler, it's hard to do, I think.
Yeah. Sean says Tammy Abraham wants to come back to the Premier League. More of a July 24 possibility. Tammy Abraham, Billy?
Yes, I'll be up for that in 24. I think we need one now, though. This is the point for me. I think January window, we need a young third choice striker who's going to move into the second choice next season. Yeah. so we can rotate him and Isaac and Wilson as and when needed. But yeah, I think 24 too long to wait. I think we definitely need one next window.
Right, I'm going to set a poll up, Billy, because I think we'll have a poll tonight. Just let me type this out. Alexander Allard has come up with a very, very interesting Geordie chicken dinner. I don't know whether you can see that, Billy. I'm just waiting to type this out. Bear with me. Helps if I can type straight, but my Parkinson's kicking off. I can't even see the bloody keyboard. Right, here we are. Now, obviously, I'm not putting every single position on the pitch here because that would just be ludicrous.
No, just put
the spine.
Midfield, yeah.
Yeah. Right. So the poll is now up, and it says, what position would you strengthen in January? You've got goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, attack. Where is the priority? So the question is, what position is priority in January? Vote away, folks, and we'll come back to that near the end of the show. We got a £5 super chat in from Ian Fleming. Thank you very much, Ian. And it just says, bye, Jimmy. Jimmy. Alexander says, Newcastle-themed dinner would be a stout beer, seasoned steak chicken with hearty veggies and cranberry sauce as a dip for the steak chicken and a pint of brown ale.
That sounds okay. Yeah, I could do that.
Well,
not for you.
No. Brown ale doesn't have a good effect on me, especially if I drink it live on the show. George says, evening all, under the weather at the moment, but looking forward to this show. Sorry to hear that, George. I think there's a lot of crap going around at the minute. There really is, but I think that has a lot to do with the weather being so up and down. But get well soon, buddy. We're always here, so something to look forward to. Right, let's start off this, Billy, with goalkeeper. Now, goalkeeper's a difficult one for me because we've got so many at the bloody football club already. There was calls at the beginning of the season, wasn't there, to bring in another goalkeeper because Gillespie, Karius, Dubravka, we didn't know where we stood. But Dubravka's played a couple of times this season and done really well. Certainly the cup games he's played in, we haven't had a problem. So I'm not really sure that a goalkeeper is actually necessary.
No, I agree. Unless Martin Dubravka wants to leave in January, which is a possibility, I guess. I mean, he probably should be playing first team football for somebody somewhere.
Yeah.
But if he's quite happy to be in as a kind of reserve rotation in cup games type goalkeeper, then you keep Dubravka here and Karius also. But so yeah, that's the one we can kick down the road until summer. I think they'll definitely want to leave in the summer. Karius won't sign another contract, I wouldn't have thought. And Dubravka will probably want first team football after this season. So yeah, kick that one down to cancel the summer. So no goalkeepers for me.
Yeah. Connor says, I think Jimmy must want the show to be on for weeks because that's how long it would take to get through every single message. Go back to the Mackhams, Jimmy. Well, there you go. Thank you, Connor. Yeah, I agree with you, Billy. I think the interesting thing for me is with the goalkeeping situation, Billy, I think if we are still in the Carabao Cup come Christmas or come January, and we have a legitimate chance of being in the final, I think Dubravka might stay. But he'll only stay if he gets I think he'll get assurances from Eddie that he is the Carabao Cup goalkeeper. Because I think it would be a real shitter if he plays all the Carabao Cup games and then gets dropped for the final.
It's happened before, though, hasn't it, like that? It's unfortunate. It has happened like that before. We've had players play all the way through and then not play in the final.
Yep.
But of course, come January, the FA Cup kicks in. So that's another competition we may be going for. And certainly, I would imagine Martin Dubravka would be first choice for that, I would think. Depends on how many games we get, of course, isn't it? I mean, if we might not still be in the Carabao Cup in January, we might be out of Europe altogether. So, it's kind of knowing what we've got in January before looking at other players. But goalkeeper is definitely not one for me. Definitely not.
Stiff says it's said it a million times. If Pope's feet were as good as his hands, we'd be looking at arguably the best keeper in the world. Long term, you need a sweeper keeper, but he is more than good for now. No illusion that he's our number one at the moment. I'm just obviously there was a lot of talk at the start of the season, Billy, about people not sure on Dubravka. I think, to be honest, that's also water under the bridge now. I think he's, when he's played, he's shown real determination and real quality again.
Yeah,
so
I
don't.
Old Trafford, very good at Old Trafford. Yeah.
So I don't see the need to bring in a keeper. I mean, we've got Karius there as well, and I think Karius is fine for a number 3.
Yeah.
I mean, Gillespie's there, but
I don't think there's any kind of club in the country that's got 3 better goalkeepers than us. I think the 3 we've got are better than everyone's. If I'm perfectly honest, Man City's third choice is Scott Carson.
Yeah,
he's as old as I am, virtually.
Yeah, I agree. And I look, I mean, Scott Carson's had an incredible career, and I can't believe he's still playing. But if you look at the 3 we've got, it's very, very hard to look at other sides and think, have they got 3 keepers that they could really rely on? Because I think we could.
Yeah,
and that's a very interesting one for me. So we're both agreed on no goalkeepers needed. I think the chat pretty much agrees. Guys, just stick with the position that we're talking about first, because it's thrown us off looking at strikers and midfielders. We'll get onto them very, very shortly. Yano says, as a fan base, we are guilty of believing a player that comes in now and again, performs okay, can be a regular player, e.g. Lascelles. Eventually, they revert to the usual standards, which ain't good enough. I think that's a bit harsh, Jano. Who's to say that Lascelles would drop back down? If he's hit a new high, why can't he stay? Why can't he stay at that? He's played a few games consistently now, Billy, and his form hasn't dropped.
Well, we're quite happy to say that Joe Linton, Emil Kraft, other players of that ilk that have kind of improved under Eddie Howe. It's permanent, so why not Jamal Lascelles? I think it's unfair to say that he's not going to go back to his old ways that he had under Steve Bruce. I think it's really fair to say that, to be fair. Yeah. And I think we'll come on to defenders next, won't we?
Yes, we are coming on to defenders right now. So now, again, defenders. Left back, for me, not a chance. I think we've got plenty left backs. I don't think we need to look at another one in January. Right back, definitely not. Now, centre backs, Billy, we did say in the summer, again, before the season kicked off, and during the deadline day, that we were disappointed that we didn't bring in another centre half. Since then, Botman has obviously got injured, and we've had Lascelles play centre back, we've had Dummett play centre back, and we've had Emil Kraft centre back. And of course, at Old Trafford, we had Dummett and Kraft as centre backs and played very, very well. Where do you stand on a centre back now compared to where we were at the start of the season?
Much happier. Because as we just mentioned, players have put the handle when they've come in. We get Botman and Shea on the pitch most of the time, we're good. But if one's injured, Lascelles can step in. If two's injured, I mean, we probably do need a fourth one at some point. But that's another position to me that we can wait till the summer for. Obviously, Lascelles is out of contract then. I'm not sure if Shea's signed his new contract yet. But I'm pretty sure we'll be offered one. But we need to get Botman back fit, and as Lascelles as a first choice reserve, and I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, look, people are asking, is Lascelles going to get a new contract? I mean, we've spoke about it a few times. Stato's been very vocal on it, saying that he would be very happy for Lascelles to get a new deal because of the way he's played. But then you've got the situation of looking at it and thinking, right, well, if we want to be up there with the very, 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 very best, we're going to have a squad of the very, very best. And is Jamal Lascelles in that bracket? Does he really just want to be a squad player, or does he want to maybe go out on a high, play loads of games this season, maybe win a trophy? We're still in there, and then leave in the summer.
I don't think Jamal Lascelles would actually sign a one-year contract. I think he's at the age now, he's coming towards the twilight of his career. Mm-hmm. Maybe one big money move, take all the money for it. Good money spinner for him. I don't think a one-year contract would be acceptable to him. I think he'd go in the summer, if I'm perfectly honest, unless he's offered a massive pay packet by us, but I just can't see that happening for reserve centre half.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and this is another one, yeah, he'll definitely stay for this season, and summer, probably move on for it on a free and get a nice pay packet out of it, I guess. And he deserves that, I guess, because he's been pretty loyal to us.
Yeah.
2016, we'd say, well done, thank you very much for your service. It's been rough at times, but when it's mattered, he's stood up, hasn't he? So,
absolutely. Foxy says centre backs, Share, Botman, Byrne, Lascelles, Kraft was very solid. So not a major concern as of right now. Not as bad as I thought it would be with Botman out. New centre back can wait until the summer. I tend to agree with that as well. I think, these players that have come in have stepped up to the plate. Now, it would be very different, Billy, if we were watching these players come in and still be awful, as in have terrible games. The fact that Kraft and Dummett stood up so well at Old Trafford last week, it gives you that belief that, these players can come in when called upon. They're not going to play every game. They know that, but they will be called upon at some point. And to know that they can perform to that sort of standard, we really don't need to be wasting money in January on a centre-back when it's not needed.
Well, it depends how much money we've got to spend, doesn't it? This is the first thing. And what positions are priority? We may only be able to afford 2, 3, 4 of the most players. Centre-back isn't a priority at the moment because, as you just mentioned, we do have a bit of depth there. Even if Kraft or Dummett play once every couple of months, just to keep, it might not even need to play on that much. They're just there as cover. If we can keep Botman and Share fit like we did last season, obviously they're not at the moment because Botman's injured, but once he comes back, I think we're well covered there, to be honest. Certainly till summer. I think Foxy's bang on.
C15 Rice says, we need a left back. Needed one for far too long now. Well, I don't agree. But then again, this is all about opinions tonight.
Burns on for, isn't it? If Burns out, if he has complications, he's out for the rest of the season, then you're probably looking at a left back on loan, maybe. So I don't think we can depend on. Target's also there as well, isn't he? But
Target,
he's injured. He's injured for a while. So
of course, Livermento can play there if needed. I don't think it's interesting, but I don't think it's a position that they're going to prioritise in January. This is what we're trying to work out tonight: is where the priority position is for January, or priority positions. But there's always that. There's always going to be different opinions from fans about where we need to strengthen, and that's the interesting thing about doing this show tonight, is finding out, what you guys think as well. Milo says, wait until the summer, and then in the summer get a big money young centre back instead of getting an average one in the winter. Indeed. Indeed. C15 Rice says, left back, right wing, young striker, and centre back is crucial. We can look at the situation in the summer. So talking about the defenders there. Robert says, sorry, Paul, but a lefty is needed now. You have no guarantee that the players that are coming in after injury will play well. Well, yeah, but that's the same for any team, isn't it? If players coming back from injury, you don't know how they're going to play. You can only go off what they've done before they got injured. And, the likes of Botman and Dan Byrne have been superb before they got injured. So, Joe Linton, you can get lost with Grant Hanley. Those days are long gone. Jimmy FM says, I still subscribe to the notion that we have a big signing in the pipeline using the January Adidas money.
That's if it comes in January. We're not sure if it does or not, are we?
Yeah. But the thing is, are they going to blow all that money in January or wait till the market's more settled in the summer? Because we know what the January window's like, Billy. It's very, very different to the summer one.
Yeah, it's hard to do deals. Players, obviously, clubs are using the players in their squads, and to prize them out of that squad takes a lot more money than what it would in the summer, that's for certain. Contracts always end in the summer too. People that sign deals in January generally get 18-month, 2.5-year deals. So it's July, June time that you get the contracts ending. Yeah. So it's easier to do deals there, obviously. But we shall see. I think needs must. I think we need to definitely do some business in the transfer window in January without any shadow of a doubt. We've got to do it. We have to do it. We are light. Maybe could have been doing it last summer, but as we've said before, money stopped us. Yeah.
Julie J says, Dubravka and Kraft are internationals. They want to move on for first-team football for international reasons. Interesting. I think it depends who makes the tournament in the summer, Billy, is to who actually wants to move, who's not getting games to get more regular football to prepare for that tournament.
Yeah, I think Kraft will stay to the end of the season at least. And I'm pretty sure Dubravka will as well, as we've mentioned with the cup competitions. But yeah, at some point in the near future, I think both those will want to leave, yeah. I think Kraft's out of contract at the end of the season as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So I think he'll probably just go on a free.
Apex Carpio says Byrne is not a proper left back. Well, this is the question: is he now a left back? Because he's played left back for what, a season and a half now, Billy. So does Eddie Howe see him as a left back or a centre back?
I think he sees him as left back now.
Yeah.
The one time he played for centre back this season, he was bloody awful against Brighton. Hence my statement of not want to see him in a Newcastle shirt at centre back again. He's got better at left back. He's improved as he's got on. But again, he's 31, 32, so maybe older, isn't he? I don't know how old he is. He's in his 30s for certain.
Yeah.
At some point in the near future, we will have to be replacing Dan Byrne. It's just the way football goes, I'm afraid. But certainly not now, and certainly not next summer either.
Yeah. I mean, this obviously we're mainly talking about January, guys. So Dan Byrne's going nowhere. King Hoddle, our resident Spurs fan, says with the Tonali suspension, you clearly need another midfielder. Longstaff and Willock are decent, but they can both be upgraded for the top 4 push.
I'm not sure I agree with that. Longstaff and Willock have already been in the top 4 side in last season's team, so
yeah,
it's keeping them fit. But yeah, we definitely need to replace Tonali. Absolutely.
Look, the more time goes on, and I see the squad in the city area they're in, Billy, the more I'm pissed off with the Tonali signing. To be honest, I was really buzzing when we signed him, obviously, and we watched him in the Euros for the under 23s, and he, it was brilliant, and we couldn't wait to see him in a Toon top, and then all of a sudden, bang!
We've got 4 midfielders fit. We've got Longstaff, Willock. Let's forget about Miley and the young lads. Longstaff, Willock, Bruno, and who's the one? Joe Linton. So that's 4. We really need 5 at least, and possibly 6. So I think we definitely need a centre midfield player, whether he's an 8 or a 6, in January, without a shadow of a doubt.
Jan says, I would sell Lascelles, Longstaff, and Wilson in the summer. I don't get this Longstaff thing. Why are people wanting rid of Longstaff?
He's had one bad game.
He's knocking on the England door. I mean, he genuinely is knocking on the England door. And I have a feeling, had we had a different England manager in charge who doesn't pick players who, sitting on their asses all season, I believe he would have been in the England squad by now, along with Anthony Gordon.
Plus, Lascelles is out of contract, so you won't be selling him anyway. He goes for nothing.
Yeah.
But I tend to agree with Wilson. I mean, there's a possibility.
I think Callum, Callum may well, he's not going to be first choice after this season.
And may well be third choice. I mean, we get third choice striker in now, a young third choice striker, and then come next summer, Wilson drops down the pecking order a little bit, but he'll still get plenty of games because, as we've said before, Isaac's not reliable injury wise. Wilson certainly isn't. We need to get one that is a bit more reliable. Which it's hard to find, aren't they?
Very difficult to find. But listen, Callum loves it up here. He said that numerous times. So I think he'll know when he gets to a certain point in his career that he's not going to be first choice at Newcastle. But, do we trust him fitness-wise? That's the thing. I mean, he's again, he's obviously pulled out the England squad now. So that's good to see. But you just can't rely on him to stay fit, Billy. I don't care what people say. As good as he is, he's not reliable fitness-wise. He never has.
He probably would be if we had a more reliable partner. Really, Isaac's not reliable. So if he's injured, Wilson's playing too many minutes, and then he gets injured. We need to manage his minutes more. We can't because we've only got one the striker. That's the problem for Wilson, unfortunately.
Yeah. Stato is he's back on Wednesday, guys. He's in Poland at the moment, so he will be back on Wednesday. Glenn says, can't sell Longstaff. We can't win a game without him. At the start of the season with Joe Linton, Bruno and Tonali, we were poor. It's a good point. I mean, Sean did have a slow start to the season as well, Billy. I think the pre-season games he was way off the pace, but he's grew into the season, and again, he's become one of those dominant midfielders. And I find it very strange that people want to sell him. He's a homegrown player. He's one of us. Why would we want to push one of us out the door, especially when he's knocking on the England door as well? I don't understand. I mean,
I find it amazing. We can't. We need a fully fit Sean Longstaff to compete. Really, we didn't have a fully fit one Saturday because he was knackered, and we saw what happened. We saw Aston Villa last season. A team without Longstaff, and it just was overrun in the middle of the park. When a fully fit Sean Longstaff plays, we never get overrun in the middle of the park. It's just plain as simple as that.
I mean, I know we've been harsh on Longstaff at the start of the season, but that's because he wasn't good enough. And look, we review the matches as we see them, and Sean wasn't playing very well. But what he's done is he's got his head down and he's playing fantastically at the moment. And I think he's a linchpin in Eddie Howe's team. I don't think that when Sean Longstaff is fit that Eddie Howe leaves him out. I just don't, and I'm quite happy with that.
Wasn't he? He was injured
Yeah,
over the summer, and it
he
took him
was.
a while to get back into the kind of fit form he showed last season.
Yeah,
He played in the 6 at Gateshead, and he was dreadful. He was at fault for 2 goals, and it never really got any better than that. Really, he was just until he got into the swing of things, got some games under his belt, got some minutes in, got fitness in his legs, and then you saw the best of Longstaff, and we've had it for a while. Just the past couple of games, he's looked a little bit leggy, but yeah, he'll be fine by the Chelsea game. He'll be cooking on gas then.
Interesting question from me. And do you think a top 4 push is a push too far this season? I don't. If you look at the table as it stands, Billy, we are only 8 points off the top of the table. Right, that's the top. So it's still all to play for this season. It's still very early days as far as I'm concerned.
There's that many teams involved this year that are kind of, Aston Villa have come to the fore more. Brighton strangely haven't, but Chelsea are behind us, but they look to be hitting a bit of form now.
Yep.
Manchester United somehow 6. I don't know how they're 6 because they've been dire all season. But surely at some point they're going to start performing a bit better. So it's going to be a harder push this year. But yeah, I still think one we're competitive in. Definitely.
See, Barry says Longstaff cannot continue to play for Newcastle if you want to progress. Fair enough, a bench player, but not first team.
I think every team needs a Longstaff. I really do.
I really do as well. I 100% agree. Longstaff has played too many minutes for an England call-up.
That's probably right. I think, yeah, I agree.
Jan says Longstaff will never make the England team. Jan, I'm willing to put a bet on. I am. Listen, I think he will be called up to the England squad at some point. You cannot keep leaving players like Gordon and Longstaff out when they are playing so well. It just can't. But the manager for England is clearly the problem here. There's no doubt about that. Right, let's move into midfield, Billy, because this is probably the position where we need to look at because of what's happened to Tonali. I know we've got Joe Linton there. We've got Willock there. Longstaff, Bruno, of course. They're the 4 main ones, aren't they? And sort of Lewis Miley's coming through as well. But what do you think about midfield? Because I think we desperately need somebody, another quality player in the middle of the park.
If I'm perfectly honest, I think we've been short of a midfield player even without the Tonali suspension. We were short of one last January. We didn't sign one.
Yeah,
it didn't cost us. Luckily,
yeah.
I think we were fortunate it didn't cost us when we let Shelby go and didn't replace him. So certainly one to replace Tonali and preferably 2. I've got to say, I think we need whether it be a CDM or an 8. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. You could get 2 6s, you could get 2 8s, one of each. It doesn't really matter. But we just need depth in that middle of the park because that's the engine room of the team, isn't it? We need a player that can do the Longstaff wins when he's not quite, when he's tired. You know?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think
I've got a couple of names that I'd fancy.
Really?
Yeah.
Go on then.
As well, one in the midfield. 2 actually. Now I'm thinking about it. Mario Lemina at Wolves. Coming to form the past 3 or 4 weeks. Starting to flourish. Temperament problem, yes. But he seems to have calmed that down the past kind of month or 2 since I've seen him. He was very good against us. He was very good against Tottenham on Saturday. He'd be the perfect number 6 for us if we were going to have a number 6 and can play in the 8 as well.
Yeah. There's a few people saying Joby Bellingham from Sunderland.
Looks a good player.
Hey, seriously though, if he's really like doing it at Sunderland, right, and Newcastle came in for him for decent money, would Joby Bellingham turn Newcastle down and stay with Sunderland? I'm not sure he would.
He probably wouldn't, but I'm not sure if the Sunderland hierarchy would be that they get hung by the.
Yeah, but if it's money they can't turn down, Billy, you know, Sunderland aren't, you know, flush, are they? So it's an interesting one.
I mean, I'd love to get him. I'd love to get him because he's a real promising one, but he's not one for now. I think he's one for the future. I mean, he's younger. Is he younger than Jude?
Yes.
You know, he's definitely one for the future, but And if you offer them 20 million, would they take that? I'm not sure. Would they? Potentially. They've sold the best players before, haven't they? Sunderland, you know, Ross Stewart's and people like that have gone for a fair few quid.
You're going back a bit there, Billy. Bloody hell.
Only last season, wasn't it?
No, Christ. You know who I thought you were talking about there?
Who?
The other Stewart, the one that used to play for Liverpool.
Oh, Christ, him, yeah. What's his name? I can see his face. Paul Stewart.
Paul Stewart. God almighty. That's why I thought you'd gone years back. But of course, yeah, Ross Stewart's a good example, Billy, because, the money's there. It's put in front of them and they can't turn it down. But obviously, if it's Newcastle United, it's very, very different, of course. Interesting. Listen, there's one player I'd love to see play for Newcastle, and it's Neves. I think he is the kind of player that would catapult us up the league with what he can do in midfield. Very interesting that he had a go at our style of football last season, and then he said in 2 interviews now that he wants to come to Newcastle. Now, I think it was just tongue-in-cheek because, he was annoyed that Wolves had conceded an equaliser so late on in that game. And I think that's why he came out and said, we were talking about it last night, Billy, what it's like for players, coming off the pitch, they're interviewed straight away, the emotions are still really high. Neves is somebody that is, I think he's still only 24, which batters my brain because I think he's been around for so long. But him on loan, Billy, and I've read today that they could go, depending on this vote, okay, but they could go for a loan to buy option with Ruben Neves, and I would love to see that because I think he's quality. Definitely,
yeah. I mean, he kind of fits that 6 role as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And his passing ability is very good. We wouldn't lose the Bruno passing ability because Bruno would move forward up, bit of creativity further back, and yeah, it'd be a great balance for us. He'd really balance.
But you know what I'm going to ask you now, though, Billy, is if someone like Neves comes in, who drops out?
You don't. It's all about rotation, isn't it?
Well, yeah, obviously, but if you play Neves in the 6, who's the 2 in front of him?
Bruno on the right, or Bruno on the left. I'm not sure. But Longstaff, you got to keep Longstaff in for his energy.
See, I think if we've got Longstaff in there and Bruno and Neves, I mean, it's. And then, as you say, we can rotate and we can talk about, Joe Linton and Joe Willock. We've got all these players.
Horses, of course. I guess who are you playing against?
Yeah. But this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about changing the team here, guys. We're talking about a squad that is going to, build the squad and have quality on the pitch. So if Eddie does make changes, he replaces that quality with the same quality. We're not lowering the standards. You look at, nothing against Matt Ritchie coming on, or nothing against Matt Ritchie, but you look at Miggy coming off and Matt Ritchie coming on. I mean, there's, that's what I'm talking about here. We need to build that squad so we've got absolute quality in the 21 or 24 man squad, whatever it is. And I think bringing Neves in would be a masterstroke, but it all depends on this vote, Bill.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to think about which clubs it affects as well as us, and there are quite a few. And Manchester United's new owner or part owner, he also owns Nice, and he wants to be getting players from there. So that's not going to happen if this vote goes through. I think this vote comes from Liverpool and Tottenham. I really do.
I don't think this vote is as clear cut as everybody's making it out. I don't think you've got to get 14 of these Premier League teams to vote for it. I don't think it's happening.
I'll be amazed if it did.
But it has to, as long as, well, what'll happen is that they'll not vote for it, but then Newcastle will go and get Neves, and then all hell will break loose and say, well, you had your chance when you voted.
They shouldn't be doing it now. Let's be honest. They shouldn't be doing it now. It's the middle of the season. Watch exactly. Halfway through.
I'm 100% with you on that.
Ridiculous.
Definitely. Jan says, I would spend the cash on Paqueta. He is top class. Never mind the cost. Yes, Paqueta is a very, very good player. But he, at the minute, I think City is his destination, but he is still being investigated for betting things as well. So I don't think Newcastle would want to take a chance in January on another player who's currently under investigation. Because could you imagine that? We bring Paqueta in and then bang, he's banned. It would just be typical.
Because that's what would happen. Certain, you can guarantee it, can't you? They'd certainly be checking more into it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Is this club not building quality academy players anymore? Yes, they've worked very hard to build the academy up, but we're talking about the first team here. The first team does need looking at. There's no doubt about it. The academy has been poor over the years. They are building that. They're building the women's team. Look how the women are playing at the minute. I mean, what a team they've got at the moment, guys. They're flying. So it's going to be what I want to see is them go a bit further in the FA Cup and then maybe get one of the Super League teams just to see where they're at. And I'm sure Becky would want that as well, just to see where they're at compared to a Super League team and building for the future. So, you know, everything is slowly building, but it's not going to happen overnight. But I think the first team is a priority now.
See, Mark Singleton makes a good point as well. Bournemouth owners, part owner of Lorient in France. Another one that would be voting against it. So I don't think we've got a vote in for some reason. I don't understand it. You know, I don't know why we're not allowed to vote. It's very strange.
I think it's for obvious reasons, Billy. But look, the vote's on the 21st. So what's that, a week away? So we'll see what happens.
Potential show there.
I know. Yeah, there is. It's next Monday. So, you know, there is a possibility. Yeah. Ronald says, I've heard we cannot vote in the banning loans from sister clubs. Yeah, it is true. But I think that's because, well, well, it's just bollocks, the whole thing, isn't it?
Turkeys don't vote for Christmas, do they?
Well, very, very true. I've never known a turkey vote, though, Billy.
No, this is true.
Milo says, so the vote isn't aimed at us, but we can't vote. Just sums up the situation. Yep, it's there. It's there for everybody to see. Nobody can argue with it. Julie J says, what about Calvin Phillips? I mean, he's an option. He's definitely an option. But, you know, if it was between, I mean, Billy, Neves or Phillips.
Well, Neves all day long. He's
Yeah.
younger for starters, less of an injury record. I don't mind Calvin Phillips. I think Eddie Howe could do things with him. I really do. I think he can improve him and he can make him a Newcastle United decent player for Newcastle United.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Neves has got. I think he's got a higher skills kind of ceiling as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. Absolutely. Ruffiad Bernician says, would you buy Edison from Atalanta for 25 million? Probably for that. But as I said in the earlier video today, I don't know whether you've seen it, mate, but he is mentioned in the video, but Atalanta are wanting 40 million euros for him, which Newcastle just not interested in at that price.
I've not seen him. I can't really comment on him. I've not really seen him, but
yeah,
Brazilian midfielders don't usually crap, are they?
No, definitely not. If the smaller clubs vote in favour, they have to realise they are next. Well, the smaller clubs are the clubs that have these. A lot of them do have, you know, sister clubs. A lot of them do that now because it's a way of, you know, bringing in loan players and things like that without having to fork out a hefty amount of money. So it suits the smaller clubs. But we'll just have to see how the vote goes. Rachel says, how can they say we can't vote? Surely that isn't legal. Well, the Premier League do what they want, Rich.
I'm not sure if that's true or not. I've seen it banded about, but I just can't see if it's. I just see the fairness in it, to be honest.
Well, I mean, I think we need to check it out, don't we? Because if that's the case, I think it's disgusting. I really do. Right, let's move to striker now, Billy. So, well, striker or front three. That's what we're, you know, forwards.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that position?
We certainly need a centre forward. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
bona fide and guaranteed. It's imperative we get one. It's whether we get a third choice one that's young that's going to come and, you know, improve as he's with us, or do we get a fully fledged one now that would have to compete with Isak and Wilson? Wilson's at the minute. The pecking order is this at the minute. It's Isak first, Wilson second, and whoever comes in will be third. Do we buy one that's better than Wilson, has got more qualities than Callum Wilson? I don't know. I think we go for a third choice one, a youngster, personally. Yeah, and
well,
I definitely think we definitely need a winger as well, two-footed winger.
There's a few interesting names for strikers being banded around, and one that I don't think Osimhen's going to come in January. I don't think that's a January deal.
No, definitely not.
Evan Ferguson at Brighton, that's an interesting one because he's a very, very good young player. but will cost an absolute arm and a leg. The same with Boniface at Leverkusen. He's going to cost an arm and a leg to get. But I suppose Billy, we're talking about strikers here. They don't come cheap anyway, whether it be January or summer.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. You know, a goal scoring centre forward. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a youngster or someone that will come in. Ferguson, we've seen Brighton before, and with their selling power, they don't sell for cheap. So you can forget Evan Ferguson. They'd want 70, 80 million quid for him. It ain't going to happen. So where do you look then? Do you look at the lad that terrorised us Saturday? Not sure he's scored enough goals, but he is playing in a poor side. Or I would say poor side. It's not a poor side. They just played off the park, but one of the smaller sides. So does Solanke come into the equation? How much would you get him for? 20 million, 25 million, I'm guessing, for third choice striker?
Probably, yeah.
That's the kind of price you're going to have to be looking at.
Guys, please stop saying Mitrovic or Ekitike, right? They're both not coming to Newcastle, okay? There's no chance.
The lad at Forest, the 1E, there's another one that potentially could be kind of in the radar because, he's a good young striker. Loads of potential there.
By the way, with the vote, it looks like the Newcastle not being able to vote. I think that's just a bit of skullduggery going around the internet at the minute. I thought it would be strange. They can't just tell Newcastle they can't vote. It's they'll probably let Newcastle vote and then just push it aside somewhere and not count it. But they should be able to still vote. Foxy says Marcos Leonardo is the obvious option that makes sense from Santos. Good age, good price, lethal finisher. He'll keep Isak and Wilson out of the team.
How much money are we looking at? Well, we've spoken about it before, haven't we, Leonardo?
I think we have, yeah. I think we did one on the last transfer show. Len Simmons, thank you very much for your 199 super chat. He says, imagine Eddie improving Neves.
Potential's there.
But the thing is with Neves as well, Bill, he's got he's set pieces.
Yeah.
That's another option, although, God forbid Kieran Trippier doesn't take a set piece, because I think that needs to be addressed and that needs to be changed in the second half of the season, in my opinion. But hey, I'm not Eddie Howe. Troll says, buy someone better than Wilson. We need it. Wilson isn't going to get better, in my opinion. I agree. I think Callum's on the other side now, and you know what it's like, Billy. As you get older, the legs start to go a little bit, and you start to question yourself, your own fitness.
Well, he must have realised the past few games he's been out-sprinted by players that he would never have been out-sprinted by even a year ago. We saw Matt Hummels out-sprint him last Wednesday. Christ. Matt Hummels never been the quickest centre-half, one of the slowest I think I've ever seen, but he outran Wilson last week. So, yeah, he must know. His form ain't been great lately. Whether that's down to his niggles or not, I'm not sure, but yeah, I think
Benjamin Sesko out there as well. Sesko's been mentioned a few times.
Yeah,
he's quality, but I think when you're looking at strikers, especially in the window, Billy, it's hard to find a top class one that you need on loan. If you want a top world class or top class striker, you're gonna have to pay because you can't get them in on loan. You're talking about the Chris Woods of this world on loans, and I'm not having it.
No, definitely not. It's going to have to be a signing, a permanent signing, and we're going to probably have to pay for it as well. But yeah, if you can get a youngster, it might not be as dear as some of the old ones, or even an older one that's still got a bit of life in him. Someone with more life than Wilson, to be honest.
Yeah. Chris is saying, recall Minte. That's not going to happen. I couldn't see that happening. I think the fact that he's injured for so long now, we just have to wait. Lots of, people are saying Ivan Toney.
2D.
They're going to cost it. This is an interesting one from Ash, by the way. Brozier from Chelsea. He's not first choice. Jackson's first choice. And then, of course, they've still got Nkunku to come back, Billy. So that might not be a bad show, Brozier.
It depends when Nkunku's coming back, really, doesn't it? I think he's out for the season, isn't he?
I don't know. I have no idea.
So, and I still believe Brozier would still command a massive transfer fee, even still. I think you're looking 50 million quid at least for him, 40, 50.
Yeah. But I think we're going to have to pay money for a striker. I don't think I'd be happy with a striker coming in on loan, Billy, because I don't think we'll get the quality that we need. if we were to go for a striker in January, but I think they have to. Surely to God, they have to go for a striker in January.
Without a doubt, we can't go through with these two sick notes. I mean, basically, that's what they are. It sounds harsh, but they are. And that's probably because we're playing the amount of games that Wilson is to make him like that. You know, he needs resting. And he gets niggles here and there. So we definitely need a third striker and possibly even a fourth if you can get someone that plays a lot across the whole of the front three to kind of subsidise that or substitute that if they need him. Well, that's the way to go, I think.
Simon says Wilson's done. Good shout for a sub, but his legs are too old. David says Papi Cisse linked with Wrexham today. Yes, he's training with where did I say he was training? I can't remember.
He's 38 now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's still going though. He's still going. Could you imagine that? Newcastle make an announcement in January. They've got Papi Cisse on a 6-month deal. Mental. Victor Gyökeres is flying in the Portuguese league.
He is, yeah. He's not
Is
a
that
presser.
Is that him who used to play for Cov, Bill?
Yeah, he's not a presser. He's a good player, but I just don't think that he suits our style. But maybe Eddie Howe could get a tune out of him. But they've just spent £25 million on him. You'd be looking at more than that for him now. He's like, as I said, he's flying in the Portuguese league.
Yeah,
they'd probably want at least 40 for him. Are we going to pay that for a third choice striker? I don't think so. Interesting.
Barry, yes, thank you very much. He's training with Macclesfield Town at the moment, Papi Cisse, which is, of course, owned by Robbie Savage. So he's looking to get in somewhere. Dylan says there's a small chance that Nkunku could come back for the game at St James's.
Oh, wow. In that case, then he could be available.
I thought I'd read somewhere that he was almost back to fitness. But it'd just be right that he comes back against us, isn't it?
He would be straight back in, surely.
You would have thought, yeah. You would have thought. John says Danny Ings. I think he's had his time. I mean,
if we signed him, it'd stop him scoring against us for one, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Len says, thank you for another 199, Len. He said, I love Malcolm McDonald, just saying. Well, I think he's a bit old now, though, Len, to be fair. And last time I saw Malcolm, he's I don't think he's got the fitness for it these days. Malcolm's enjoying the retired life now, I think.
To be fair, Malcolm didn't have the fitness for it in 1979 when his knee went.
That's a very good point, actually. But what a finisher he was, Billy. If we could find a finisher like Malcolm McDonald, I'd be bloody happy with that.
I don't get many like him these days. Not with his left foot like that, anyway.
Very true. Very true. But there you go, guys. That is the show done and dusted. I hope you've really enjoyed that tonight. I certainly have. It was a very good idea from Billy. And we've covered all the positions there. We've had a look at some very interesting names have come up in the chat tonight. So thank you very, very much for that, guys. As usual, you guys play a big part in these kind of shows. And thank you for all the names. It's certainly going to be interesting between now and January to see all the names that are linked with the club. They're going to come flowing in fast and furiously. You can guarantee that. But we will be back tomorrow with another show at 7 o'clock. So keep your eyes open for what that will be. And Wednesday night, I think, is going to be the 25K show. It has to be. So Castato's back on Wednesday night. Billy is still doing that show? Want to do that on Thursday?
Contemplating something, yeah. Tom had a good idea. We did a podcast earlier,
right?
A New Legends podcast,
right?
And we shall speak about that after this, I guess.
Okay. Well, Billy will be doing a show on Thursday. Me and Alex are, of course, at the awards on Thursday night, so we are thoroughly looking forward to that. See what happens in that, and we will let Billy know if he's on air. If we whatever position we finish in. We will let Billy know if he's still on air, that is, but we'll let you know on the socials as well. But catch us on all the socials. We're on Instagram, Facebook. We've got a great group on Facebook. So just basically agree to all the terms on Facebook, and then one of the mods will accept you into the group. We're on Twitter, or X, as they call it now. I still always call it Twitter, Billy. It's crazy. Ian A says we want pictures of Paul in a tux. Well, it's a silver suit, put it that way. Silver suit, black tie, white shirt. There you go. I ain't wearing no tux. It's not a tux. But I don't shape up too badly in a suit. I'm sure Susan will back us up with that, but she'll probably be the only one. But looking forward to it. So plenty of shows coming up, even though it's the international break. And then we will do another show on Friday night, and we'll talk about the awards and things like that. So many shows coming up on the Toon Review. So please do subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, which will let you know when we schedule live shows or we upload any videos. And of course, please do hit that thumbs up button. We've had over 800 watching tonight, only 302 likes. So you've all got a chance now just to smash it before we finish the show. And of course, we will be back very soon. Thank you for your super chats, new memberships, Mod Squad. You're awesome as per usual. Thank you to Billy, but thank you to you guys. We really do appreciate all the support, and we will see you again tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Until then, it's good night from me and good night from
Poll
him.
results.
Oh, poll results. Bloody hell. Indeed. Well, I mean, very interesting. Not a surprise. What position is a priority in January? Goalkeeper got 4%. Defender 8%. Midfielder only 18%, Billy. 70%. A massive 70% went with a striker.
I'm not surprised.
Pooh.
I'm not surprised.
Wow. So there you go. They are the poll results. And yeah, good night from me and good night from him. See you soon.
Good night away, the lads and lassies.
Come back and check out some green.